The future is green. Yes, green means sustainable. But we're talking about the green, commonly known as hemp, ganja, weed, or cannabis if you want to keep it small. But the world of weed and cannabis is much bigger than smoke and mirrors. I'm Lakai Natasha.
I'm Dr. Snap.
I'm Kendall, the farm plug.
And I'm Antoine Mordican.
And this is Growing the Green.
Welcome there, family. This is Antoine Mordican, your Alabama State Director, to provide y'all with some new news. Locally here in the state of Alabama, the medical program is still going forward. However, it's still a lot of litigations. But on the positive side, I'd like to share this with you all, that this upcoming week, by next week, we should know if folks going to be able to start participating in the cannabis industry here in Alabama. So I'll speak specifically to myself as a winner. This Friday, I'll be able to get my site inspection for me to go ahead and start growing medical cannabis in the state of Alabama. But also on the national level, we've been having some good things going on as well. I believe Missouri, if I remember correctly, they done made billions of dollars in $1.4 billion in adult use in the state of Missouri.
For their first year of operating.
We also still got descheduling on the table. Hopefully we're able to get a little bit more traction on that. But while we talk about rescheduling, let me go back to the local, which is the Alabama news. Everybody here in the state of Alabama that's listening to this, we have a new bill that is being presented. It's SB 42. It was presented by Senator Bobby Singleton to offer decriminalization here in the state of Alabama. And in my opinion, it's not true decriminalization, but it lessens the fees and the penalties if you are caught. So if you by chance got some time, look into it, it'll bring it down. For your first offense, it'll be like a citation with a fee. A misdemeanor with a fine. And then so many times you get caught, then it kind of goes off from there. But make sure you guys look into it and ultimately voice your opinion. Whenever this bill goes to committee and it allows for the public to be able to chime in, best believe I'm going to be the one to let you know the date and the time that it is, so we can all meet there and be able to let our voices be heard as we want to be able to usher this bill through. But with that being said, it is an amazing day here as we for you here Growing the Green. What we do here on this podcast and the conversations that we have is so high level. We make sure that we do our best to bring you, credible knowledge and experience, and most importantly, scientific and, research studies, with a lot of stuff it is that we do. So I would love the pleasure to be able to introduce Dr. Femi, which he is the director for industrial hemp at the University of Alabama State University. And I'm going to allow Dr. Femi the opportunity to be able to introduce himself, to be able to tell you a little bit about his background as we dive into the conversation around hemp and cannabis here in the state of Alabama and the great work that he's doing.
Thank you, my friend, the great Antoine of the Native Black Farm. Thank you for the great introduction and for the news. Again, my name is Dr. Femi Ajayi, originally from Nigeria. You can tell from the accent. I was introduced into farming by my dad. He's passed now, but he was introduced by himself by his own dad. So that was my granddad. So when I was little, I remember we had gardening, around the house, and I was more passionate about cultivating food for the household. And fast forward, I attended my undergrad school in Nigeria. After that, I moved to the US in 2012 to Auburn University, where I obtained my master's and PhD degrees in the field of entomology. So entomology means study of insects. And one of the big problems that growers or farmers face in the field is insect pests, because they transmit viruses, and then they also eat, and they can defoliate all the yield, the potential yield of the growers. So that's why we study them. Someone got to study them, right? So now I'm in Alabama State University. Go on it. That is, award. So I joined Alabama State University in 2020, the Industrial Hemp program under the director of Dr. Mrs. Samuel Fu, who is now working with the USDA. So the program I'll say it started through the vision of the administrators of the university. But that's just my brief intro. I'll keep it like that. Over to you, the great Antoine.
Thank you, there, Dr. Femi. So, first thing I would just like to talk about, a lot of the work that you've been doing on the hemp and industrial side of everything, because we had the discussion last week about, the difference between, cannabis, which will be your medical or CBD, well, I wouldn't say CBD, but, recreational medical cannabis. But also, we talk about the importance of industrial hemp here as well. And, myself as a farmer, I absolutely love the plant because I respect the plant in totality of what it can be used for. So if you don't mind just kind of shedding a little bit of light about the research that you have been doing on the industrial hemp side at the Alabama State University.
Thank you, Antoine. So the research that we've been doing is mainly on the entomology aspect of the hemp cultivation. As you know, it was in the year 2019 that at the state of Alabama re-legalized the cultivation of hemp. So for growers, there were lots of questions. What are the pests?
Can you say that one more time for me? You say re-legalize hemp?
Or let me say legalize for the first time. Thank you for that, for keeping me straight on that. Yes, legalized it. Yes. So there are lots of questions that local growers have regarding the cultivation of hemp. So we looked mainly into the insect aspect and also the horticultural aspect. What are the nutrients required? How does insect feeding or attack? How does it influence the levels of the CBD and the THC? Just like you said earlier, Mr. Antoine, and you know that the state of Alabama will destroy your hemp plant if it passes the threshold of 0.3% THC level. So a lot of questions were on the minds of growers that what really is behind or mediating or influencing that level of THC. So they want to know what they ought to do and not to do so that they can have their plants secured and not destroyed. So that's the main research that we've been conducting. And a couple of years back, we had an additional line of area of research, which is onto the antimicrobial properties of CBD. So from our laboratory, we found that CBD extract is actually toxic to some bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli. So these are big names when it comes to bacteria, food. It can cause food poisoning, and a lot of people have died over the years and every year from Salmonella, and stuff like that. So, and this Salmonella, it also develops resistance to a lot of drugs against it. So we're trying to see how we can incorporate CBD as one of the tools that, can be used against Salmonella. So again, entomology, insect study, and also the antimicrobial properties of CBD. So, and we are also open for collaboration to any area of research into hemp program.
I really appreciate the work that you're doing out there. Myself, as a hemp cultivator here in the state of Alabama, I hope y'all got some good data analytics on, the few years ago when we had the armyworms real bad. I know a lot of farmers here in the state of Alabama that was growing hemp that was actually doing like row cropping kind of with the hemp. They dealt with armyworm extremely bad, but unfortunately with how I cultivate it's kind of indoor enclosed and grow on tables. So I had armyworms, but I was able to kind of get them off of them before it got out of hand. But it's like by the time you spot them, they spread real quick. So yeah,
well, Dr. Femi, I have a question. I'm not going to lie to you. We have our friendly rivalry, right, between ASU and Tuskegee. But until I learned more, like quite literally, I had the opportunity, I watched you all's presentation when you presented to the commission about, why you wanted the vertical integration license, what your plans were, how you were going to basically scale up. But I really didn't have any idea about all of the agricultural work that you all were really doing over there. So I'm interested to know more about that. Can you tell us more about your ag programming, or what inspired you all as Alabama State to want to get into this industry, and where did you see the value in it, and what made you all jump on it as an opportunity?
Thank you, Candice. That is true. We are not an agricultural school, from the get-go. Unlike Tuskegee, Tuskegee is known as a land grant institution, so you guys have a lot of land for research and, agricultural services. But like you said, what got us into agriculture was Hemp. Again, I'll give the credit to Hemp and also to the vision of president, his colleagues, the board of trustees of the university. So when hemp was legalized in 2019, they saw the vision and the opportunity that we as a university can stand up as a leading research institution into the hemp world. So that was the vision that they had. And this has been yielding some fruits, just like you mentioned during our interview for the vertical farming. This has really put us out there in the limelight. So many people who do not know that we as in Alabama State University, we are now into some form of agricultural research. And to be honest with you, we've been trying to seek additional funding from the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, to conduct research not only in hemp, but also in other crops of value, such as tomatoes, row crops, and many other agricultural value products. So again, I'll give the credit to hemp. Maybe, in 2019, as soon as Alabama legalized that, the administrators saw the opportunity, and they've really given us the opportunity to collaborate with land grant universities like Tuskegee University, Auburn University, Alabama A&M, and we are enjoying the spotlight of being a small agricultural university.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I did not give you some flowers right now, because you all's presentation was so beautiful. I'm not even gonna lie, I just knew that you all were going to get that license, because from the video, from the layout down to the exact location of where you were gonna be doing things, how your process was it was just so thoroughly thought out, and it looked so beautiful. And so I know that you all were not awarded a license. So where are you all in that process? Are you in litigation, or are you just gonna walk away, stick to industrial hemp, and revamp and go forward from there?
Yeah, I'll give the credit again to President Quentin Ross, the president of ASU. He had the ability to organize and put out a very good show. He had a background in the state legislation. So going in front of his former colleagues was, he knew what to do to them, to make sure it got their attention. But like you said, unfortunately, we wasn't awarded the license now. But hopefully, we are still in the process of reapplying, and hopefully, we hope that we will be awarded. And like I said, we're hoping to work with those who have been awarded, like the Native Black Farm, and any other licensee who is willing to work with us. We are open for collaboration.
You got maybe a question? I don't want to take up all the time, but I do hear you keep talking about collaboration, right? And so we've been having Growing the Green for a while. Even this is a collaboration of different elements of the internal workings of Tuskegee. We've got Antoine from the Hill, which he reps unapologetically as often as possible. But could you kind of talk about, and even in some of our previous works, which you can find on CISC 1881 on YouTube, we've done a series called Can of KwanzaaCon, and I think one thing that has really stuck out or stood out amongst all of our conversations is this emphasis on collaboration. So could you maybe touch on why is collaboration in an industry like cannabis or hemp, industrial hemp, why is that important, and what do you really hope to achieve with these collaborations?
Thank you, Candice. The main reason for this collaboration, again, I say, is for us to help people out there. I like the introductory news message that Antoine gave about, Senator Singleton trying to reduce the penalty for anyone who is caught with cannabis in agriculture. So those are the kind of goals, the results that we want to see. But for us to see that kind of goals and achievement, we need many hands on deck. One university cannot claim to be an island. From my experience and from my mentor, those who mentored me, they always instill that you got to be open for collaboration. But again, they also emphasize that you got to look for suitable collaborators. Don't collaborate with someone who is just going to take advantage of you and it's not going to bring anything to the table. You see, so we as a university and also as an HBCU, we see ourselves that we, instead of competing with other HBCUs like Tuskegee University, Alabama A&M, we can all work together to achieve the same goal. We know that ASU may be an expertise on one area better than Tuskegee. Tuskegee University also have their own area of specialty. Alabama A&M also have their own specialty area. But when we all combine together, and we are really dedicated to achieving a proud Black collaboration as a university, as an HBCU, we know that the sky is going to be the limit for us. Because out there, I'm telling you, the sky is the limit. We have a lot of opportunities. A lot of predominantly white schools, they are like very careful when it comes to hemp or cannabis. It's like they do not want the name of their university to be stained or to be attached with the so-called negative hemp. But we as Black universities, we know that we can do this. We know that even though hemp may be negatively viewed in the past, but we are making strides, we are making progress in bringing hemp into the limelight as a positive thing, as long as we can use it in a regulated way. So if we can gain ground and take the opportunity that is open to us now, it's gonna take the predominantly white schools, it's gonna take them a while before they can even think of catching up with us. So this is a great opportunity. We can be pioneers in this field. So that is why we are emphasizing profitable and dedicated collaboration especially among the HBCUs in the state.
Boy, Dr. Femi, you got me fired up, man. You got me ready to tap back into my engineering degree, man. Look, I'm going to throw this out there. Whenever you're ready to start tapping into the research of hemp being a reliable source of energy, let me come back to school so I get my doctorate degree in that. I want to study that. Let's make a reliable energy source out of it.
Sounds good, Engineer Antoine. That sounds good.
Dr. Femi, if we could, I kind of want to switch it up just a little bit. You opened up telling us that your research is really focused on optimizing cultivation for Alabama growers. If you could you tell us some of your initial findings in layman's terms of some of the things that you guys have discovered since the opening of the center that will be useful for our growers right now?
Thank you so much. So remind me your name again. I'm bad with names.
Lakaya.
Yep, it's Lakaya. Lakaya. L-A-K-I-A-H.
Yeah, we write it down. We love you. We love you, Dr. Femi. If you don't know about it, we love you. We want you to know we love you, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm in a safe zone.
Yes, you
are. Now, I hope I can remember the question. But what we've found out from our pilot program is that, like Mr. Antoine mentioned, he mentioned the name of an insect pest, fall armyworm. It's a big pest, not only for. So we call it, to be honest, we call it corn earworm, right? Because so far, fall armyworm has not really been found in the US, but in Europe, it's a big problem there. But they look alike. Fall armyworm and corn earworm, they look alike. They belong to the same order of insects. So we found that corn earworm is, so the scientific name is Helicobacter. It looks just like a worm, very, so the adults, it looks like a moth, it looks like a butterfly at night, that you see attracted to sources of light. But these adults, they lay thousands of eggs, within a week. And most of those eggs, though most of them do not survive, but the ones that survive, they have higher chances of survival. And what they do is they feed on the flowers of the hemp. And that is the location where the CBD is mostly abundant, you see. So it's like a arms race between corn earworm and the hemp grower. It's like a competition. So they are both competing for who is going to get most out of the CBD in the flower. And if care is not taken, within cases where corn earworm, they destroy like almost 90% of the profit that the growers was going to get from, extracting the CBD from the flower. So it's a big pest. It's very common, especially in outdoor growing. But like going back to what Mr. Antoine said too, another, he said he was growing indoor. So he was able to get rid of the corn earworm quickly, which is very, very commendable. But for indoor growing, one of the big problems that we found out are cannabis aphids. So they are very tiny, just like the tip of your pencil when they are little. So these aphids, most of them, they reproduce asexually. That means that they do not need another aphid to mate for them to reproduce. So when the temperature, the climate is conducive for them indoor, they can reproduce in thousands within a day. So what they do is they suck out the sap or the juice out of the hemp plant. So that makes the plant look skinny, yellowish in color, and then that reduces the amount of the cannabinoids that the grower was going to get back from the plant. And if care is not taken, when a grower who is growing indoor wants to transfer a plant from one location to another, so he can easily transfer those insect pests, just from one location to another. Even though the grower may check his own plant before he moves them and see, just looking from layman's eye without the use of microscopes or, handheld, scopes, he may not be able to see this pest easily. And if care is not taken, it's going to go just keep on transferring this pest, and they're going to be an headache for wherever they go to. So another big pest, insect pest problem that we found in Alabama is called mites. Mites. So they are two-spotted mites. And these two spotted mites, they are not only a problem in hemp, they are also a problem in tomatoes. So what they do is like they form like a spider web, even though they are not spiders, but they form webs just like spiders and coil around the top of the plant, and then they shrink the plant and they reduce the level of cannabinoids in the plants. So also, so far, we've seen that there is a potential for the THC level to fluctuate from corn earworm feeding, So not only corn earworm feeding, also the stress that the plant is exposed to, maybe drought, or maybe not enough water, or maybe too much temperature. So all this stress can lead to fluctuation in the levels of chemicals in the plants. So those are just a summary of some of the highlights that we found from our pilot program.
So with your experience and your background, have you seen any effects of honeybees when considering the cannabis plant, or has any research been done when considering honeybees and the cannabis plant?
Thank you, Mr.
Higgins.
Higgins. Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Dr.
Higgins.
Snapper.
Yeah, that's a good question. So far from my insect survey in the field, I've collected a lot of bees, both honey bees and other bees from hemp. But what we have found so far is that we do not think that there is so much relationship, or let me say, so far we haven't really found a solid relationship. Unlike many other plants that those plants need bees, for pollination. When it comes to hemp, we've not really established that fact. Actually, we have some entomology friends who are also working in hemp. His name is Dr. Crenshaw, Whitney Crenshaw in Colorado. He's one of the top experts when it comes to honeybees and hemp. So one of his publications, he listed honeybees as just a not really common, but just I've forgotten the name, the term he called it, just like a visitor that just came by chance, not a regular, but again, in science, we never say never, right? Until we have the data, the supporting data to really substantiate the relationship between honeybees and hemp. But so far, I don't know of any relationship. We just term them as something you come by, just by chance, or maybe you come across them by chance because of other plants that you plant around hemp. Maybe they just fly over, cross over hemp, but I've not really seen a big direct relationship between hemp and bees.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Femi, as it relates to your research findings and your studies, I hear you as you're looking at entomology, you're doing a lot of correlation to cannabinoids in plants, which when we talk about the cannabis industry, we recognize that there's a hemp industry that optimizes cannabinoids or growing hemp for flowers. And then when we talk about, or when I say industrial hemp, I think about cannabis that's grown for its height, right? That's grown for its fiber, where we are not really looking at the flower, where we're not really looking at we're not really focused on the chemical composition for the first use of the plant, even though it could be useful after, as a byproduct. So really my question for you is about your anticipation of production for Alabama. So I am a strong advocate for pushing industrial hemp and trying to sell it to farmers. But we know that when the industry became accessible, many people wanted to get in it to go straight into the cannabinoids. When you think about research, talking to farmers, and our class of farmers, right? So working in Alabama, we work with a lot of small farmers, especially as you're partnering with land grant institutions. We work with what we call limited resource farmers. And they took a big L or big loss at the beginning of the industry because to your earlier notion, all of their hemp went what they call hot, where the THC climbed over the legalized percentage. When you think about your research, right, and preparing for the future, do you suspect or want to advocate for farmers entering a particular field, right? Like, are we preparing for farmers to grow more hemp for CBD? Should we be preparing for farmers to be in the industrial field? Like, what is your anticipated projection of the industry, especially as a researcher where we're trying to stay ahead of the curve so that our farmers can be successful in Alabama? What are we preparing for?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, we talked about that question just a couple of weeks back when I attended the orientation by the Alabama Department of Agriculture and Industry Hemp program. They do an annual orientation. So one of the things we mentioned was what you mentioned too. Hemp for fiber hemp. We really need to emphasize that. And that may be something more growers can look into. Because like you said, CBD hemp, now the market is saturated. Many growers have CBD who have CBD hemp, but there is no market, or the market is just too limited. And the benefit that they're gonna get back from it is just too low compared to what they've invested and in it. But going back to fiber hemp, there are lots of the byproducts from this. For example, one of the ADAI staff members said that currently in Texas, there is a company like a realtor company, that they are focusing on creating houses made of hemp products. So that's fiber hemp products, And I know of many other byproducts too that you can grow from this fiber hemp. So a lot can be really benefited by new growers or current growers who are growing CBD hemp before. They can look into the area of fiber hemp. There are lots of opportunities for them, even international opportunities. For example, right now in Kenya, I know of an American industry who is currently in Kenya, who is looking into building low cost houses for the low income growers. And all these low income these houses will be made entirely from fiber hemp, because to them they have the land, back there in Africa, and the weather is very good for them to grow multiple seasons in a year. So there is high potential for them. So the market is very good for Alabama growers. If they look into fiber hemp, they can sell not only locally, nationally, and also internationally. So that's a good one. But again, let me also clarify that when you talk about industrial hemp, you can also have both fiber and CBD. CBD is also considered under industrial because many make the CBD therapeutic products from it, so it's considered under industrial. But I see your point is being saturated. The market for it is saturated right now. But if they go to the line of fiber hemp, they have a lot of opportunities right there, and the market is very open, both local market and also national market and international market for fiber hemp.
Well, I thank you for expanding my vocabulary. So now I know when I say industrial hemp, that doesn't exclude CBD, but it also
Yes, ma'am.
includes what we'll call fiber hemp.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No,
So,
thank you.
so do you foresee Alabama State being a leader in the processing aspect when considering industrial hemp? I know you all were going for the vertical license. Did that include processing, correct?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Higgins. So processing, when it comes to processing, right now the university itself does not have the equipment, to fully boast as a processing facility. But the reason why we applied for that vertical license was that we have other collaborators, industrial people, who we can collaborate with. I mean, the university and those industries to form a solid partnership. And those can look into the processing facilities. So currently, that company, they are in multiple places within the US and they have their processing facilities. So as long as we have that partnership with them, we can also say that ASU in partnership with another industry, we can process hemp. But ASU on its own, again, we're a university, and we don't have the processing facility right now. but in partnership with industry, we can.
So earlier, I think that everyone knows, and if they don't know, they're tuned into Growing the Green, so they're finding out. But this industry is projected in the trillions, right? This is a multi-billion/trillion-dollar industry. And majority of that profit is coming from the industrial sector. And so I'm interested to know, I kind of have like a twofold question as we kind of start to wrap up. My first question is, are there, as much as you can tell us, right? We don't want you to spoil anything, but are there any sneak peeks of any type of profitable type of entrances into the industry that you all are entertaining? What does that look like? Like, how do you actually see yourselves being able to be profitable in the industry as an institution in Alabama? That's my first question. And then my second question, I'll wait until you answer that one.
Okay, thank you. So that's a very, very fine question. And right now we are walking the line of legal processes that we have to put in place to make sure that we do not mess up our status when it comes to receiving federal grants, because you don't want to peek into many pockets and then lose your main source of funding. So our legal team, they are looking into what we really need to do to make sure that even though we are not a for-profit entity, but we can still, to some area, be able to generate some funds. Probably the goal would be to sponsor graduate students for more research, and partner with less privileged who need these products more. So we're trying to look at the legal, process so that we can do everything legally. So let me leave it as that.
That's okay. Keep the mystique. Keep it mysterious for us. Give us something to look forward to. My second question is, damn, and now I kind of got a third, but I'm gonna chill out. If you had a magic wand for the state of Alabama and for the HBCUs in Alabama, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, but if you had a magic wand and you could just spin it in a circle and whatever you want the Alabama industry to look like for HBCUs, what would be, I guess, your top 3 wishes that you would like to see come from that magic wand? What are the top 3 things that you would like to see HBCUs in Alabama? What does that look like?
That's a great one. Again, collaboration. Alabama A&M, Alabama State University, Tuskegee University, we all have experts in different fields. Come together, unite as one. Medical cannabis now is an hot topic, like Mr. Antoine mentioned, and see what we can do to help a lot of people out there who need this medical cannabis product. Again, I also want the 3 HBCUs to unite together to seek funding. Federal funding, state funding, local funding. That is very important. That will make us look good out there. And when we all come together, funding agencies will see that, oh, you are not just coming as one, but you are coming as 3 in 1. So that will improve our chances of being funded. And also, I want the 3 universities to also produce researchers, students who can be proud that I graduated from HBCU under the medical cannabis program or the industrial hemp program, and they can do great things, wherever, their journey takes them. So those are the 3 things that I will say that are my priorities for the 3 HBCUs that we currently have in the States.
Well, in the vein of supporting new leaders in the space, if it's allowed, can you tell us a little bit about the graduate program that you guys have at ASU and who is it accessible to, who targets, who might be interested in it?
So the program is open to any students out there who is interested in learning about industrial hemp program, but it's housed under the biological sciences department. And once the so far we've graduated 2 master students. So it takes them 2 years. They take classes in biology and they do their research with Hemp. So there are many faculties who have their own diverse area of specialization, and they come together to mentor the students. And we give them stipends, just to encourage them to do more. And many of our students, current PhD students, we have currently two PhD students. They have the opportunity to go do their internship in the industry while they are still students. So actually, one of them even finished his internship last summer, in an industry and hemp industry. And he said he was able to learn more because he was able to see the benefits of hemp, the processes, all the stages it takes from growing in the field to cultivating, to harvesting, to processing, to extracting. He was able to learn all this within 3 months. So he came back and he was fired up. He had a lot of research questions he wanted to ask, but we just told him, you have only a few time to graduate. Why not focus on your graduation after you graduate? You have a lot to do. So yeah, going back to your question, we are open to graduate students who wants to learn more about cannabis, and they can apply online. They can Google Alabama State University graduate program. It's housed under the biological science department.
Well, if you guys consider taking visiting scientists, I'd love to be in touch.
So keep that noted. We'll note that. Yeah, because I know you also have a lot of good, research experience on that field. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some phenomenal work that y'all been doing out there, and you really got me considering going back to get my doctorate. They've been already calling me Dr. Mordick, and I'm like, it makes sense, especially if it's in the cannabis realm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're just being modest. I don't know about you all. If you all had the chance to talk about cannabis with Mr. Antoine, he's just fired up. It's like a professor. I'm learning a lot from him. He's very humble guy. I applied for a USDA grant funding, and he was able to write a reference letter for me, which was one of the requirements, from the funding agency. So thank you again, great Antoine, for all you do.
No problem. That's how I give back, and that's how I support. And I just want to piggyback off of your 3 things that you envision for the cannabis industry in Alabama, because we all have our own unique thoughts and visions of how we kind of see the state of Alabama on just on the cannabis side of it. So I guess my 3 things would be my first one would be economics, which you alluded to as well. Making sure that we have strong firm ownership in the industry where we're able to allocate a lot of the funds that are generated from the industry to make sure it poured back into the communities that we want to be able to benefit. And then that gets into the educational aspect of it. Making sure that we are developing our youth and our young professionals to be able to enter the industry. You don't necessarily have to touch the plant, just to be able to simply study the pest of it, which ultimately affect all agricultural commodities or agricultural, products. That's a big need. And then one of the big things is workforce development, which I think Alabama State was actually pushing for that with their application to be able to offer interns, I think it was scholarships. For the student body. So the workforce development is really big because it's new in Alabama. We don't really know who's qualified to even work it. Nobody here is a grower for real unless you've been on the hemp side already. Nobody's a processor unless you've been in it on the hemp side already. So we have a new emerging industry that's coming to Alabama. I think it's very important that we make sure that all the economic and educational and development stimulations and opportunity that's come from this industry, we got to make sure that it's kind of falling and that it don't miss our community. So that's just one I wanted to chime in on what it is that you got going on. Make sure y'all continue to support.
Let's go around the room. Don't do that. We all that.
Make sure y'all continue to support Native Black cultivation, man, with all the historic stuff that we're doing here in the state of Alabama, as well as Tuskegee University, as well as Alabama State University in Alabama A&M. We all out here doing great things. So I'm thankful that you came on to have this conversation with us. I just knew it was going to be wonderful and great. But yeah, let's go ahead and open it to the room. Give us 3 things how y'all would like to see the cannabis industry in Alabama.
I say processing, You know what I'm saying? Going back to my trinity, food, fiber, and shelter. You know, seeing
Fuel.
that, and fuel too. but seeing that processing aspect for the industrial, the true industrial. I'm not speaking, when I say industrial, I'm not so much speaking of the CBD aspect. I'm speaking more so like the what they could use for housing, building materials, and things like that. So that's what I would like to see.
We make 2x4s out of hemp, we lit. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, they making flooring. They making flooring out of hemp.
Man,
You know
2x4s
what I'm saying?
will build you
Hardwood
whatever
floor.
you need.
You know what
We
I'm
get
saying?
those, we
For sure.
gone.
Well, for me, I would say that I don't have three. I just have one. And everyone's alluded to it and made space for it, and it's innovation, right? You, Dr. Femi, you're looking at pests. What we know is that there are no certified pesticides, fungicides that have been created for the hemp industry. So there's opportunity for innovation in this space. Antoine, you talk about workforce development. Well, I know, being on the administrative side of anything, is that for workforce development to be efficient, you have to develop those processes, right? You have to explore and experience obstacles so you can generate solutions. So since we have a whole new field that's underdeveloped, there's opportunity to optimize the workforce. We're optimizing cultivation. We want to optimize processing. Everything in the hemp industry can be optimized. So that optimization is established through innovation, which is essentially problem solving. So there's a lot of room for that there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I would say my magic wand is swinging around, and yep, I did it. I would really love to see, I think collaboration, of course, because obviously you have three of the premier leading institutions and of course, like for me also, I cannot have a conversation about cannabis or industrial hemp or whatever you want to call it without looking at the impact of the war on drugs in our community and also looking at the impact of climate change on our community, right? So for me, what I would really like to see, and even the fact that you're from Nigeria, right? When we talk about policy and international relations, I would like to see us not only, bring this trinity, right? This trifecta of Black excellence in Alabama. I would like to see us take the work that we're doing here that is totally life-changing for not only rural farmers in the United States, but what could this actually look like if we took it to Africa and created very real and very intentional opportunities for us to exchange relationship, to exchange knowledge and information, so that way we're not only... I just am very wary of us as Black Americans innovating for innovation's sake. I think that we have a social responsibility to, our brothers and sisters and our cousins all over the world who deal with so much of, colonial oppression or whatever you want to call it. We're all dealing with it every single day. We live in it. We're figuring out how to live around it. But when we know all of the different ways that one plant can be used, when we know all of the different ways that one plant has been used against so many different groups of people, I see it as a real chance to mobilize and organize our communities. And so for me, and it's no chance, it's not just a chance that you have the agriculture powerhouse that Tuskegee is. When you look at civil rights, you cannot have that conversation of civil and human rights without talking about Montgomery and Alabama State and the role that you all played. And A&M, we can't deny the work that you all have been doing as well. I mean, it's unprecedented, right? So if we bring all these three things together, there's no limit. Like you said, the sky is the limit, not only for research and innovation, but also for social empowerment. I don't even want to say equity no more, because they told us that ain't the word. We ain't talking about social equity. That's a thing of the past. The question is, how do we empower ourselves to bring about the type of future that we really want to see, that we know is possible for everyone to actually be involved in? So I really appreciate you taking this time out. And before we sign off, do you have any shameless plugs? Are there any events coming up? How can people contact you? Like, Tell us more about what you got going on and how people can stay connected.
Thank you. So we have a Facebook and Instagram page. Just Google ASUM, look it up on our social media. And there we post many of our events coming up. So for example, we have like the field day where we invite volunteers to come join us, just help us to cultivate and weed out necessary weeds from our garden or from our hemp plants. But this, when it comes to hemp, we are careful about who goes around, and because of legal reasons. But we have a teaching garden here on campus, on ASU campus in Montgomery. So we always invite undergraduate students, high school students, K1 to 12 students, to come out to learn more about the mother earth, and then most of them, they see it as a way to connect with the land. And most of our undergraduate students, they see it as also a way to relax, maybe from academic stress, when they play with the earth, they grow something and they watch it, they plant a seed and they watch it grow over time. It has an emotional impact on them. So most of these events are always on social media hangouts. Yeah.
Perfect. And if people had questions about you, or they want to know more about your work, or maybe catch an article or something that you may have published, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Email is actually one of the best ways, and they can Google my name. Just Google Dr. Olufemi Ajayi, Alabama State University, and my email is O Ajayi. So that's the first letter in my first name and my last name at alasu.edu. Also, my phone number, my office phone number is online. It's 334-604-8141. Yeah. So these are easy ways for them to reach out to me, and I'm open for extension questions from growers or from teachers in high school or intermediate school, elementary schools who have any questions for us. Sometimes we go out there to provide some form of education for our young ones out there.
So before we do our official sign off, you got a fan out of me, Dr. Femi. I just want to let you know I'm geeked out.
Thank you so much.
Ashe. So do you have anything that you just want listeners or people watching? Is there anything you just want them to know? Anything you want them to take away from this episode?
So one thing I would like for them to take away again is collaboration. Like we said, we cannot overemphasize it. Not only collaboration in hemp, but as Black folk, when we communicate together, we see the best in us. When we have misunderstandings, why not engage in conversation, communication? There is no one there will always be misunderstandings, but when we communicate, instead of using weapons against ourselves, we can do better. We can do better when we unite and collaborate and know that the Black race is a good race. We can be proud of ourselves. And, my upbringing coming from Africa, growing up in Africa, I see that was how we were raised. I was raised by multiple folks. They say that it takes a village to raise a child. So many people come together to raise me. So if that is the case, then why don't we also look out for one another? Communicate. I enjoyed our communication today. Trust me, I've learned from each and every one of you. So give the time, less violence, more time for communication, and there's a lot we can learn from each other. There's a lot we can learn from the mother earth that God has given us. So when you give it a time, when you grow it, when you plant it, it's gonna grow. Thank you all again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Femi. Thank you so much, because What you just emphasized is the fact that no one can grow the green alone. It takes a community that is willing to learn and sow seeds of growth together. And those are the seeds that we plan to keep growing. So let's keep reaping, learning, and sowing together on Growing the Green. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Dr. Femi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And don't forget the Farmers Conference. The
yes.
kickoff event is March 12th at 595 Grady Street at the Tuskegee University Innovation Agricultural Center. That's the kickoff to the Farmers Conference on March 12th. That will be from 1 to 4. The Farmers Conference is from March 12th to March 15th. It will be downtown Montgomery. But the kickoff event will be at 595 Grady Street, which is the Tuskegee University urban site.
Yeah, pull up on us, man. Pull up on us. We're gonna have a cool conversation also happening from 4 to 6, where we'll be pulling in the cannabis folks. So if you could be present, or if you just hit up Antoine, just link with us. We gotta link with you. We gonna link with you. You link with us. Okay.
That's 4 o'clock on the 12th.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr.
That's good, Dr. Femi. Thank you again
you so
for your
much.
time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like that. That's an African art. Yeah.